The election of another Republican president in November will destroy America. Good evening, I'm Jim Crook. I'd like to talk to you for a minute about the upcoming November elections. There's a lot going on in this country right now that is beyond the consciousness of the American people, that has been kept well hidden from you by the Republican Party and President George W. Bush. What's really happening is multinational corporations have taken over the United States government with the help of the Republican Party in a huge spoil system, wherein corporate America has basically bought the government with the courtesy of the Republican Party, which has dominated for the last 7 years, with President George W. Bush leaving the light on for him. Now, when I say multinationals has taken over America and it threatens America's democracy and constitutional way of life and possibly its very economy, what do I mean? Multinationals are corporations who are incorporated in many countries. Hence, they have no patriotism. Their only patriotism is to the almighty dollar. These countries, these multinational corporations, under the presidency of George W. Bush for the past 7 years, were allowed to form monopolies, which have eliminated competition. They've been allowed to outsource tens of millions of American jobs, and they created two hoax-invented cash cow wars, the Afghan War and the Iraqi War, which had nothing to do with Afghanistan or Iraq harming one American citizen. What has really happened here is corporate type of bandits have gained access to the White House, and they've exploited it with the help of the Republican Party and President Bush. President Bush's Justice Department has not applied any sanctions to all of the monopolies that have formed in the last 7 years, such as ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and that is the reason that your gasoline prices are $4 and $5 a gallon in America, without really any price hike in the price of a barrel of crude oil. The multinationals are outsourcing tens of millions of jobs in America under NAFTA. What's really happening here will dry up America, because once a job has been outsourced to a Middle East or Asian country, what happens is the payroll that would normally pay for an American worker goes to that Asian country, and that money circulates in that Asian country, who now has the American job. And that is significant because the way circulating money works is, if a dollar circulates 1,000 times, it can buy 1,000 McDonald's hamburgers or pay off $1,000 in debt. And if according to T. Boone Pickens, $700 billion are being transferred out of this country every year in the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. Now, these multinationals are really predatory capitalism, or illegal capitalism, or uncontrolled capitalism, especially by the Republican Party and the Bush administration, because they're all on the take. What's happening, especially with these multinationals, is defense contractors. Let me tell you the abject evil of what is happening with defense contractors, which President Eisenhower warned us of. He called them the military-industrial complex. They have to have war to pay the payroll of their 3.5 million workers. They have to have continuous wars. And if there isn't a war, they invent wars. They invent wars with the help of Congress by purchasing the war vote of each member of Congress, which happens to have been, for the past 7 years, the dominant political party has been the Republican Party. And if they can invent a war, then they can manufacture go into large-scale manufacturing of weaponry for war. Well, then they sell the weapons to Uncle Sam, and this allows them to raid and drain the United States Treasury of $1 trillion. It's quite a corporate profit formula. The only downside to this corporate formula is that what it's really manufacturing is genocide. Because since the Vietnam War, 2.5 million people have died from 3 invented wars. Now, you might ask yourself, could the corporate mentality be so evil as to invent a war that would kill millions of people just to make corporate profits and raid the U.S. Treasury of trillions of dollars? By the way, which dollars go into the pockets of corporate CEOs and not for infrastructure, schools, or free college education or health care. An example of the sociopathic corporate mentality is the tobacco company CEO that was caught on tape during a board meeting last year, where he said, let's triple the nicotine content of our cigarettes so that we can hook the 7 to 12-year-old children's market. Well, these multinationals who are unpatriotic do not care if America dries up or not. If it does, they'll simply hop to another country, as Halliburton has announced it's going to do. They will destroy the United States, and they will also destroy its economy if they keep outsourcing jobs by the tens of millions. In terms of the 3 wars, the Vietnam War, the Afghan War, and the Iraqi War, were they invented? I'll cover this briefly. The Gulf of Tonkin incident was the reason we got into the Vietnam War. Well, it's been proven many, many times over that the Gulf of Tonkin never took place. When we went into the Vietnam War, the military-industrial complex defense contractors were able to take $1 trillion out of the United States Treasury by selling war weaponry to Uncle Sam. Now, at the present time, George W. Bush, his political cronies and corporate cronies are profiting unimaginably from this war. His father owns stock in the Carlyle Group, which owns United Defense. And in one day, his father, President H.W. Bush, made $37 million from his stock in the Carlyle Group once it was found out that America was going to go to war against Iraq. Now, should we have gone to war against Iraq? President Bush said there was weapons of mass destruction and training of Al-Qaeda on Iraqi soil. The United Nations put a stop to that, said it never happened. President Bush then sent or had George Tenet, head of the CIA, send Joe Wilson to Niger to confirm that Saddam Hussein was purchasing yellow cake to make atom bombs, distilled uranium to make atom bombs. It never happened. George Tenet came back, told Vice President Dick Cheney that. President Bush sent Dick Cheney back 9 times and had George Tenet lie about it. And he put it in the National Intelligence Estimate, which President Bush then used in his State of the Union message to declare war upon Iraq. It was a hoax. The whole war was declared only to make corporate America a profit. These are the kind of corporate bandits and pirates that have been running this country for the past 7 years. Now, did President Bush know about the 9/11 before it happened? One wonders if he was actually part of it. The Israeli government contacted 4,000 Jewish employees of the World Trade Center and told them not to go to work on the day of 9/11. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't tell President Bush the same thing. He knew about 9/11 before it happened. Anyway, the bottom line is, if this country ever elects another Republican president for the next 20 years, God help us. God bless all of you, and good night. I've written a book called Predatory Capitalism. It's yours for free. Download it at predatorycapitalism.com. predatorycapitalism.com. Please read that book before you vote in the November election. The book will show you just how evil the Republican Party has been in its corrupt marriage with big business for the past 7 years. A marriage that produced the actual assassination of John F. Kennedy when he refused to invade North Vietnam, which of course would have prevented defense contractors from making $1 trillion selling war weaponry to Uncle Sam and withdrawing that amount from the U.S. Treasury. Read that book, please, before you vote in the November election. Thank you very much.